From the beginning of the war, the Ukrainian society has been starting to say that due to the decentralization, Ukrainian communities became capable to resist to the Russian aggression, but nevertheless, the reality demands us to find the new way of action. And today, together with the Ministry of the Communities and Territories, we are having this discussion devoted to the economic and social rehabilitation of the communities, effective responses to the challenges of war, and we will look jointly for the answers to these challenging questions. Of course, we are common in and united in support to the armed forces of Ukraine. So my question to Mr. Marat Kiurchevskyi, how USAID had reoriented its peaceful programs for Ukraine into the wartime programs. And I'm happy to introduce Mr. Marat Kiurchevskyi. Good morning, dear partners, dear leaders of the programs, managers of Dobra program, etc. Thank you for this invitation. I'm happy to be present here today. And I'm happy that we are eventually able to organize and hold it. We have been supporting Ukrainian communities in the war and hope to continue to do this after the war. Of course, the beginning of the war was a shock, and we have to respond to this challenge. Local communities and local authorities have been facing a lot of challenges. Help to volunteers, help to IDPs, support to the armed forces, and all the challenges against the background of the limited resources, which diminish the limited resources coming from the central level. And I'm very grateful to Dobra program for carrying out the survey in the 4 pilot regions, which we will discuss today. I believe that as of today, the biggest issue is how to look at the immediate future, how to start thinking about the future, not stopping to resolve today's problems. Of course, we have a lot of issues in local communities, but we have to look in the future. In USAID, we are happy that we are able to assist in carrying out such service. From the beginning of the war, USAID had reoriented the majority of its programs to the needs of the war. We also had started procurements of necessary equipment. We also provide more than 1.54 billion of direct aid and 1.5 billion to support Ukrainians, and we also offer grants to local businesses, to small businesses. We make available procurements of necessary equipment. We also deliver assistance to the emergency services of Ukraine in overcoming the consequences of the attacks. We also provide assistance in reconstruction of the residential housing and provide help and looking for investors who might assist in rebuilding of the damaged houses, and we all do this to support Ukraine and to ensure its welfare in future. Thank you, and glory to Ukraine, glory to hero. Thank you for describing your programs. Thank you for describing your response to the needs which appeared after the attack and the invasion of Russian Federation into Ukraine. And now I'm happy to give the floor to Maxim Yeligulashvili, facilitator of the dialogues and researcher. Maxim, could you explain about the main findings of your survey and whether the local communities are able to focus on the economic development, and how do they approach to the integration of IDPs? Thank you for these questions. I will make a couple of introductory words and then characterize the results of our survey. Actually, the survey was focused on the and making a cross-section of what are the issues which the local communities try to avoid, which they try to tackle, and how they are able to cope with the current problems. The survey was held in May and in April and May. In the Marat mentioned about humanitarian challenges and about shift from the humanitarian challenges to the long-term search for solutions. People who coordinate assistance delivered to the IDPs, to the armed forces of Ukraine, they have successfully coped with the first wave of crisis, and now they have to decide what to do under these circumstances when the demography of communities had changed and in some communities there are additional up to 15% of local community which have added. At the same time, in many communities, many local residents fled or escaped, scared with the Russian aggression. Today later, the printed version of our electronic version of our report about the survey will be preserved, will be published. We compared 4 regions which seemed to be very different in terms of population, in terms of sizes, but when we had carried out our survey, we found out that they have similar problems. For example, both Chernivtsi and Kirovohrad region, they faced almost the same challenges, and they tried to tackle these challenges similarly. This similarity you will see in many aspects, despite maybe some minor things like additional aid which was involved. And on the last slide, you will see that Kirovohradsky region had found much more efficient psychological help than Chernivtsi and other. this is then Chernivtsi and Ivano-Frankivsk region showed a bigger level of help coming from abroad. We carried out the survey via interviews and questionnaires. Then we compared the answers to open and closed questions. Then we organized group interviews with the leadership of local communities. And I believe that contributed and added much to the meetings. When we discuss the challenges, we look that Kirovograd and Ternopil regions, they keep looking for the individual solutions, very specific solutions to the challenges, but nevertheless there are very similar problems which are the same for all the 4 regions. This is construction or re-equipment of bunkers and shelters, proper premises for kindergartens, similar issues with businesses, IDPs, relocation of businesses, and here one of the major issues that when they relocate from rather high-tech environment, they lack a lot of human resources, etc. And this results in tensions with the labor contracts, with taxes coming to the local budgets, etc. Later on, I will try to show this on examples. The set of issues related to IDPs. The first step is to find housing and employment for them, and then another level of problems begin, and including psychological support. And during our interviews and group meetings, we found out that psychological support is being formulated in rather strange way. And work on the survey reminded me the year 2014, when the first wave of IDPs appeared in Ukrainian regions. And I found out that some negative aspects, some negative things, adverse effects were not overcome. And local communities are now more mature, and the experience from 2016-2017 had pointed out to the issues of the located or concentrated places of residence for IDPs, like modular cities, etc. This potentially creates a lot of problems. In some regions, there is another problem. They observe that businesses who relocate, they make use of the tax privileges to them, and this cuts down the revenues of local budgets. And here we have to ensure necessary flexibility for local authorities to allow them to fill the local budgets. Another aspect, which is a good consequence of decentralization, this is introduction of very efficient exchange programs. For example, in one of the communities, they equipped a hospital with the assistance provided with their foreign partners. And now this local community is able to provide both the hospital and accommodation for Ukrainian soldiers. These are local communities from Kirovograd region and Chernivtsi region. The state allows, when the state allows to use resources, it should not create obstacles to that, artificial obstacles. Thank you, Maxim. The examples that you said demonstrates that today each of us defends his or her own front line. Now we have new challenges, the incoming heating season, sustainability of local communities, etc. Viacheslav, once you mentioned that in order to withstand this aggression, we have to grow up our economic muscles. Thank you for the invitation to this event, and from the very beginning, I would like to thank to USAID for keeping focus on this important topic. Recently, we had a series of discussions with other projects about development of communities, about food safety, and I believe that today's topic will become one of the priority topics for local authorities and for donors. And I'm happy that I'm able to thank today to USAID once again. And I'm happy that we are sharing the same point of view in this area. As for the as for your question about economic muscles, muscles are important in all spheres of life, and when it comes to the economic muscles, we should say that immediately after the shock of the beginning of the war, each community had to cope with immediate problems raised by the invasion. And now we do not have any single community which wasn't touched by the war. During first 3 months, during March, April up to May, the economic decline in our communities was very dangerous because almost the entire economic life had stopped at that moment. Many people who were enlisted to the army, many people escaped, and a lot of businesses stopped to work and started to volunteer. But as of today, we have more or less detailed analysis of the activities of our local communities during first 6 months of this year. And we found out that for this 6 months we have a positive dynamics against the same period of the previous year, despite the war. If you take the territory of Ukraine, the overall territory of Ukraine, we found out that revenues to the local budgets had grown 10%, and this is despite the war. Is it the figure only for the non-occupied territory? This is for the entire territory of Ukraine. Some sources of revenues to the local budgets were cancelled, were repealed. Although some taxes or duties are not paid in the best way, but nevertheless the overall level of revenues showed 10% growth. I remind you that this reflects those territories which were occupied, which were deoccupied, which are at the front line, which are close to the front line, which are in deep rear. The situations in all those territories, the circumstances are very much different from each other. They differ. Of course, our overall objective is to win in this war. And we should not stop in doing. We should not stop doing and working, because the overall strength of our armed forces eventually will depend on the strength of our local communities. And when I think about our local authorities, local activists, international partners, our ministry, etc., and we had been discussing the available land resources, etc., And now we have to shift from the psychology of traditional development to the new strategies. The new strategy should be to be very flexible. Local self-government bodies have to be very flexible and decide very quickly how to involve people into work, how to create jobs and increase employment, how to make this local community work. Some local communities which have rural territories and only gained taxes from that rural territories. Now, this is not enough. Local authorities, local self-governments have to act. And today I would like to emphasize the need for economic development, economic growth of local communities. Speaking about our Ministry of the Communities Development, I should say that our priorities have changed. Foremost issue for us is the approaching heating season. We started our preparations to the heating season, and we are now carrying out, so to say, civil mobilization to ensure that the winter season will be passed with sufficient amount of warming resources. I wish you a lot of success during today's discussion, and I hope that such meetings will become good tradition, and that this will allow local communities to strengthen their economic well-being and economic muscles, so to say. We are grateful to Mr. Nehoda, Deputy Minister of the Communities Development of Ukraine, for these words. Now, I'm happy to give the floor to Ms. Tetyana Berezhna, Deputy Minister of Economy. Could you please describe the special programs available for local communities to strengthen their economic growth? Thank you for this invitation, and we have heard today that our overall objective is to gain victory. Of course, I fully agree with that, and I believe that to make this possible, we have to win at the economic front line, the front line of the economy. I'm happy to remind you about the grant program of grants, My Own Business. This program, My Own Business, allows to get up to 250,000 hryvnia if you have good business idea and want to launch your own business. We have up to 20,000 of micro grants and for whom these grants are available. Physical entity, entrepreneur, legal entity, entrepreneur, and the precondition for this grant is creation of new jobs. Of course, these jobs have to be official jobs, and we believe that this program has good and big potential, and we found out that there are a lot of applicants who applied to this program. This slide describes the application process. You may apply on from DIA app. Then you have to answer your questions and upload your business plan, demonstrate how you will use the money, the grant, how many people will be employed. Then Ashad Bank checks the documents and your standing as a business entity. Then business plan is checked by the experts whether it complies with the objectives of the program. Then you are appointed an interview with the panel of experts, and I was present at some interviews, and I found out that the applicants are very motivated people. They are very eager to do something to employ people, and I encourage businessmen to apply and businesswomen to apply to this program. And upon interview with the experts, the ministry makes the decision about allocation of money, and then businessmen can either rent premises or purchase equipment. That is, we do not cover all the expenses of the new businesses, but the list of things which you can cover with the grant is quite extensive, and we will extend it in the future. The program is released in waves. First the wave of applications, then the wave of checks, etc. In the first wave, we had 3,165 applicants, and positive decisions were made about 523 new businesses, and we expect that these 523 new businesses will create 1,472 new jobs. Of course, geographical Kyiv is among the leaders, Dnipro, Poltava, Rivne, and Lviv cities. The gender analysis suggests that there were a bit more male applicants than female. You also see the split between legal entities, physical entities, and even physical persons. These are those who do not have any experience of entrepreneurial activities. And we found out that there are very good ideas among entrepreneurs, establishing bakeries, shops, kindergartens, etc., etc. This slide shows the split our types of economic activities. This is wholesale and retail trade, repairs of cars, motorcycles, etc. This slide shows statistics in the second wave. Here, the total amount of applications is lesser, 1,928, and 225 out of them became successful. Again, Kiev and Dnipro were the leaders, but Poltava, Vinnytsia, Lviv and Odessa demonstrate also good potential. Here we see the prevailing of female initiatives. This is a slide about types of economic activities. Actually, it remains staple, and retail and wholesale trade is the leader again. Economic muscles of local communities is an important thing, and each Ukrainian believes that it has to be involved and has to become a warrior at the economic front line. That's why I would like to encourage entrepreneurs, businessmen, to get involved into this program. We provide advice and consultations. Please apply to that. Please inquire about it, and we will be happy to explain more. We will post a link to your program on our website. I am pleased now to give the floor to Ms. Tamara Sokhatska, Deputy Director of the State Employment Center. My question to you: what assistance is available from the state employment centers, and how you can help to the entrepreneurs who launch their new businesses? Thank you for invitation. I will describe our current programs. Micro grants is very attractive and interesting state program. I won't speak longer about it, and I only would like to point out that if you have any questions related to business plan development or to the filling in the application form, we invite you to come to us. We are able to help you how to fill in the tax forms, in the business plan, etc. Now, how State Employment Service can help to local communities. The first assistance is to organize the community works. Many local communities make a good use of these programs. You may offer, as local community, the list of communal jobs which have to be done in your community. Also, we have a program created by the government for employers to compensate them expenses on creation of new jobs. And this is another program which is available for entrepreneurs and which could be used by local businesses. I encourage local businessmen to submit applications. Also, the State Employment Service provides compensations to employers who offer jobs to IDPs, and also we sponsor relocation of IDPs who are employed with an enterprise, and we pay for medical initial medical services for them. And then we offer a short-term retraining courses. If employers need retraining for their new personnel, which they want to employ, they may request for special tailor-made retraining course from our service. We also offer combined retraining when training is organized jointly by the State Employment Service and an employer. The unemployment level officially had dropped, but we observed that the number of vacancies offered in the labor market had dropped considerably, 3 times, and we expect to have high level of employment. That's why we intensify our work, and we encourage employers to look carefully on the offered programs. This year, 10.1 billion hryvnia were allocated by the government on the special employment programs, and we encourage those who are eligible to get access to them to inquire. Now I would like to give the floor to Pavlo Kozyrev, Deputy Minister and envoy about internally displaced people from the Ministry of Reintegration. Pavlo, what are the main obstacles for the IDPs in getting their jobs? Already can see the presentation by Pavlo. I would like to thank to our partners for support and for partnership. I'm happy that the Dobra program focuses its attention on the support of local communities. These days we deal with the biggest relocation, the biggest amount of relocated people after the Second World War. We have 4.5 registered IDPs, and 60% of them lost their jobs, while more than 17 million of Ukrainians will need assistance in nearest future. And we perceive this as the biggest tragedy in terms of population, and we have to work hard to overcome the consequences. This is a presentation of the State policy on IDPs. We provide between 2,000 and 3,000 hryvnia for the IDPs. We also compensate utility services to physical persons who host IDPs, up to 450 hryvnia per month per person. Also, we provide compensations to local budgets who host IDPs. We also provide assistance to religious communities who host IDPs. Quite recently, the new resolution of the Cabinet of Ministers was approved about mortgage loans for IDPs and at a special interest rate. We carried out express analysis of the business attitude of the businesses' attitude towards IDPs. Almost half of businesses believes this is not just a problem. This also can be an opportunity, and generally the trend is that people relocate from more highly economically developed regions to the less economically developed regions. We expect that this may contribute to the economic development of those less developed regions. As a deputy minister, I have a responsibility as a special envoy on IDPs in this country, and we understand that the situation is not easy, that it had radically changed and from the times before the war, and the local communities which has sheltered IDPs, the situation in those communities is rapidly changing. Trying to resolve the issue, we involve our partners and involve the civil society. Quite recently, we signed a memoranda with the civil sector who has a broad experience in dealing with IDPs since 2015. And we expect that after some short period of time, we will offer a comprehensive strategy for reintegration of IDPs. Today we are discussing maybe registration as an IDP could be synchronized with the registration of a person as in the employment service. And we suggested to put the responsibility about IDPs upon one person in each local state administration or local military administration. from now on, the responsibility about IDPs will be put upon one person within each region. Now we have launched a special hotline. You see the telephone number on this slide, and we expect that thus we will collect, register, and analyze the information data and understand better the situation with IDPs and their needs. It is quite important to understand the geography of relocated people, of relocations, and we have to map these relocations. And I fully agree with my colleagues that this may contribute to the development of local communities. But in order to do this, we have to understand better the local economy and the needs of that local economy. In this context, support from our international partners is very valuable. Of course, direct money payments to IDPs is one of the most efficient ways to support them. This is the easiest way, and people can use this money, can spend this money at the local level. Then, under the guidance of United Nations, we have more than 20 clusters which coordinate the issues like supplies to the compact residential IDP centers. Another issue is that program of micro grants for business activities launched by BMZ KfW. And also EU for Skills for IDPs project, which had been lasting from 2017, and now we shift the emphasis in this project on the IDPs. My presentation is over, but I have to add that these days we expect to have 220,000 people to be relocated from Donetsk region. They will be relocated to central and western regions of Ukraine because they are at the front line, and there is no heating, no gas supplies, no heat supplies, etc. In general, we expect to have up to 500,000 such people. The emergency is in preparing accommodation for them where they should be able to spend winter. And here we have to decide on the key issue, what we expect, whether they have to stay in the places of compact housing, or they should be scattered along the local community, be hosted by local residents, intermingled with them, not to live in just one spot, one specially allocated village. And I believe that we have to establish a special service, and we have found out that such a service on IDPs proved to be very efficient in resolving the most urgent issues. Thank you, Pavlo. I'm very satisfied with the level of interest showed to our today's conference by the top-level participants and mass media. Now we come to the local level. Some time ago, the Lviv authorities promised support to those businesses which relocated to the Lviv region and encouraged people to apply to the local oblast administration. Mr. Stepan Kuibida, director of the Department of Economic Policy in Lviv Region State Administration. Could you share your experience about that program, and could you warn us about the most negative lessons of it? Dear colleagues, glory to Ukraine and glory to the armed forces of Ukraine. Can you hear me? I will try to describe this program and to share the first lesson that we had learned. Even before the full-scale invasion, we had a program which was called Competitive Economy of the Lviv region, and with the beginning of the war, we understood that we had to respond very quickly. We became more flexible and we approved a regional program for business development till the end of the martial law situation. We dedicated 1 week and carried out meetings with local business associations and discussed with them actual problems and how we might be useful for them. And at the same time, we explained the difficulties of the local budget and that expectations of the businesses should not be too big. On the other hand, we provided a message that the local state administration was carrying out a new function, the Center for IDPs, for development of IDP businesses, etc. We clearly understood that the Western regions would become competitive in breeding relocated businesses, and that's why, besides soft measures like simply space, land plots, premises, we also offered a system of grants. So the first suggestion, the first offer to businesses relocating to Lviv region, we offered 100,000 hryvnia if entrepreneurs relocated businesses. If such an enterprise created 20 plus new jobs, we doubled that assistance, and in cooperation with the Horizon Capital, we managed to strengthen this offer. So each relocated enterprise was getting 100,000 hryvnia. Then having created 20 jobs, it got another 100,000 hryvnia, and the total amount of grants doubled on the account of Horizon Capital. Of course, but for big enterprises, 400 hryvnia, it was not a solution. But for medium and small size enterprises, that was quite an amount. The next aspect is the markets for production. Of course, we cannot help with supplies, with sources of supply to new entrepreneurs, because this could not be solved quickly. But when it comes to the market, we can help, and not only with the internal domestic market of the region, but also with the external markets. That's why we offered voucher-based support for marketing your products abroad. And immediately after that, we understood that marketing was not enough. We had to cope with the necessary documentation, that is, European certification, etc. And this requires some investments from businesses. That's why we introduced vouchers for certification and offered up to 50,000 hryvnia for marketing activities abroad, and up to 80,000 hryvnia for certification services abroad. And especially when enterprises had counter-regions, had clients abroad. Very soon we understood that both our local businesses and relocated businesses, they required renovation of production capacities, facilities, and relocated businesses also required additional equipment, operational funds, etc. That's why we offered up to 500,000 hryvnia for procurement of equipment. But of course, that was not available for the entire market. And we had to set priorities for light industries, machine building businesses, nature building, and something else. And the logic was quite simple. We saw that in those sectors we had the biggest number of relocated enterprises. light industry was quite useful to work for the army. Machine building was quite useful as a multiplier for local industry, and agricultural businesses are useful always. And after long discussions with the State Treasury, we had successfully fulfilled 2 ways of calls for applications, and as of now, we had received applications, and now we are in the 3rd wave of applications, and out of 30 million, we now have up to 12 million left, which we can spend, and we are successfully moving. About lessons learned, the problem is about communication. Not always we are able to reach business community with the information about available programs. Then communication at the level of the local amalgamated communities. When we take this decision about this program at the central level, but we found out that local communities were unable to strengthen a level of information to spread information and to improve its own local business support program. That is, local communities have to think carefully about economic incentives for their relocated businesses in their local communities. I have to finish now, and I'm ready to answer your question. Thank you for this very interesting information. I would like to ask my colleagues to show a short video. This was an enterprise which produced electric hardware for in Kharkiv. Now they are relocated to Lviv region, to Ternopil region in Khotyn. Ruslan, the owner of that business, found out about the state program aimed at support, and he went to look at the possible land plots for the enterprise. I was positively surprised, even at the first meeting with the mayor of Khotyn. I found out that these people were really interested in relocating businesses and hosting new businesses. And very quickly we found the plot. 4,000 of IDPs relocated to Khotyn community during this 6 months. And in Khotyn community, they have hosted enterprises on production of bicycles, electronic electricity, appliances, hardware, etc. Now the question to you, whether this is coincidence that you appear to be ready, whether it a result of your previous experience before the war, whether it is a good use of the state assistance, international experience of your partners, etc. I'm Andriy Dranchuk from Chernivtsi region, Khotyn local community. I'm happy to congratulate Lviv region, who shared their very interesting experience. Khotyn is a small community in Chernivtsi region. We have 20,000 of population. Nevertheless, we can describe our positive experience. There's a slide. This is presentation devoted to the challenges we've been facing through the 6 months. As of now, it is hard to recollect the first day of war and all that first hard period. But today I would like to devote more attention to the economic block of our work, to the state program of business relocation. This relocation is a new word which we learned during the past 6 months. And when we had posted that we are ready to accept and host businesses, and the next day the first entrepreneur called to us, then we had prepared presentation materials with which we approached to each entrepreneur who wanted to relocate his or her business to our community. Actually, this work capitalized on our previous experience of the past 2 years. We prepared investment passport. We were thinking about involvement of new businesses, and why we appreciate so much relocated businesses. Because Chernivtsi region is the smallest region in Ukraine, and Khotyn is a small community in that smallest region. And we have heard about applications coming from Kharkiv, from Odessa cities. We understood that that was a big chance. They wanted up to 50,000 square meters of premises. For example, the bicycle plant approached us and requested for 5,000 square meters of premises, and we approached to another big plant which we have in Khotyn, and they shared the premises, empty premises, with this bicycle plant. And as Lviv region mentioned, there is a competition between communities who want to host relocated businesses. As of today, we have 7 relocated businesses. The majority of them are from Kharkiv region, we found out that we were, at the initial stage, we found out that we were not very much competitive, and we tried to improve our situation very quickly. That's why we offered some incentives. We offered quality accommodation. In order to do this, we repaired our municipal housing and offered not just schools, and we offered housing and accommodation free of charge in those municipal premises. Then we offered to create an industrial park in Khotyn. And 2 months ago, our industrial park was successfully registered, so we offered that industrial park to businesses. Technical parks, according to the reconstruction of Ukraine plan, will become the major centers for reconstruction, and the creation of that technical park allowed us to involve the biggest number of relocated businesses in Chernivtsi region. Involvement of relocated businesses goes not smoothly, by the way. These are big businesses, but they are being relocated, and actually they need our assistance every day. And when we launch production on our territories, some businesses re-registered them, some businesses registered new enterprises. We are very close to the state border, and new relocated businesses are making good use of our new of their new geopolitical geoposition. They establish connections with foreign partners. Also, we repaired the business hub and did major repairs and made decent business premises. We believe that as of now, that relocated businesses had developed sufficiently to start business operations, and that production which you saw on our video material, they are growing, they are increasing the volume of their production, and we are ready to provide to them what they need. We are not going to earn too much on premises and services. We are very much eager to help them to grow, and we understand they are in stress. They suffered much from where they relocated, and we believe that the natural way of things, when they grow and pay revenues to the local budget, will allow us to grow too. Thank you for your attention. Andriy, thank you. If you would be very grateful if you are available to answer questions at the end. I'm happy to introduce Vadim Boyarsky, head of Shumska community in Ternopil region. Vadim, how did you manage to accommodate huge numbers of IDPs in your local community, and how did you manage to integrate all those IDPs in terms of accommodation, in terms of employment, in terms of providing to them with necessary services and goods? Actually, the time passed forced us to learn a lot of lessons. Oh, for us from day one, it was quite clear that in order to be able to offer assistance to IDPs, we have to become strong as local community ourselves. And as of today, all the community land is rented to the farmers who are processing that land, who carried out a sewing campaign. They are ready to produce food stuff. We work for the army. We launched the food processing enterprise, which produces butter. We have good cooperation with a big farm, and all that enterprises, they create jobs and offer jobs to IDPs. This is actually an illustration to what I mentioned, that the local community has to be strong, economically strong, to offer help. From day 2 of the war, we saw the first IDPs, and we started to assess their needs in order to be able to respond. We established a good cooperation with the hotels, with the local communities, with religious communities, and we mobilized all the private houses, private residential houses, and we accommodated more than 3,200 of relocated official people and up to 30% of unregistered IDPs. So we offered emergency housing in hotels. Then religious organization created 2 hostels where they house 200 people. We're happy that the ministry now decided to pay attention at the religious communities and to exempt them from some payments, and to provide with the finance, some compensation on utilities for those religious communities which host IDPs. At a later stage, we understood that we had to relocate IDPs from schools to other venues, and we repaired premises of children's summer camp with hostels, or carried out the repair of that camp, and it is well repaired with catering, and we relocated 20 families of IDPs And we are relocating people from schools to this permanent block, residential block, so to say. And also IDPs who stay in that summer camp, they participate in the events organized for children who stay in the summer camp. We hope that our capacity to host IDPs now is stronger. We understand that there are challenges, but we are now more prepared to solve these challenges, to find solutions together with international organizations. Now I am happy to invite Mr. Igor Ledovy from Sergeyevska community in Poltava region. Sergeyevska Hromada was able to provide, to create jobs. Igor, as far as I know, that local economic development was a priority in your community even before the war. How do you cope with this task today? Maybe you are able to share your experience and what do local council offer to in this area. Sergeyevska community is in the north of Poltava region at the border with the Sumy region. And actually all the waves of displaced people, they passed through our territory. We are familiar with all the problems. As for the economic development, we started to work on that even before the war, and now we have learned new lessons. We have created the fund for support of entrepreneurship, where we offer up to 300,000 of grant to the IDPs, to entrepreneurs. Then we support agricultural enterprises where we compensate up to between 70 and 100% of expenditures on launching agriculture production. One more tool for agrarian farmers for is special program for procurement of equipment like fridges, etc. Then we offer joint program, employment program, our municipal service on forestry employs jointly with entrepreneurs. And we offer support to small and medium-sized businesses, and we have good examples here. We try to resolve our demographical problem via this program. This is a brief characteristic of what we offer. Thank you, Igor. The next question is to Tetyana Grishchenko, Deputy Head of USAID Program, Competitive Economy of Ukraine. Tetyana, could you please describe your program, what it offers to those communities who try to develop the local economy? Thank you to USAID Dobra program for invitation to this discussion. I'm representing the USAID program Competitive Economy of Ukraine, which has been supporting Ukrainian small and medium-sized businesses and offers strengthening of their capacity both in domestic and international market. We train them about business climate and support in terms of international trade. As for the local communities, I agree with Stepan that communication is of primarily importance, and it becomes even more important even at the times of war. Ability to satisfy the needs, to respond to the growing needs flexibly at the communicational level becomes the matter of survival for businesses. For example, a relocation, offered programs, opportunities, how the relocated businesses might be supported, both at the local level, at the central level. All that information should be communicated efficiently. Our service suggests that those communities which maintain communication with their community regularly, they become more successful in the emergency times. Our program hosts the work of the Inter-City Working Group, which unites 90 local communities. It had been working before the war, and it continues its work now. Communication between businesses and local community is important, and this was supported by a survey carried out by our colleagues in June. Pavlo described that survey about attitude of businesses towards internally displaced people. And it also highlights the area where we have to work together. The data about the feeling, how do businesses feel themselves during this period of war, and the vision of the situation by local authority, there is a big gap between them. 94% of businesses do not know. They are not familiar with the support programs offered both at the central, regional, or local level. This again suggests that we have to strengthen the work of our intercity group. It would be good to focus our attention on the preserving economic resilience, and we provide grants to businesses to preserve jobs, to create new jobs for IDPs. From the beginning of the war, we provided individual grants. This was emergency grants. But then we understood that we have to do it on more systemic basis. That's why we have established one-year program for the support of the business resilience and growth. We'll look more on engineering, beauty industry, and other services industries. This is a program which is open to a wide range of businesses, and I encourage you to look at the call. And I encourage you to look very soon, because we had received more than 70 applications within 2 weeks. Recently, we opened a special program for participation of Ukrainian businesses in international events like exhibitions, fora, etc. We clearly understand that in order to repair the disruptions committed by the war to marketing of Ukrainian enterprises, we need emergency measures. Also, we offer support of female businesses. We offer support to business associations, etc. So I encourage you to look carefully on our announcements and project calls. Thank you for this opportunity to participate in your discussion and for good information. Where your project calls and could be found? We have our social network websites, and we post our information on the website of our program. Now, I am happy to give the floor to Ms. Angela Bocci, Deputy Head of USAID Dobra program. This is the program which is funded by USAID, works in more than 100 partner communities in almost all Ukrainian regions. It studied the needs of the local communities. Angela, could you please explain how the Dobra program provides assistance to local communities in this situation of war? Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to start with the statement that communities had become the backbone of the public administration and state power in the regions immediately after beginning of the full-scale invasion. And as for the Dobra program, we've been working in 10 regions of Ukraine. During the last 6 years, our focus was on local economic development, provision of economic services and communities, cooperation with civil society organizations, improvement on financial well-being of local communities. The war has put us in conditions where we had to change also, like the entire country. Yeah, after beginning of February, we started to help to the IDPs who relocated to our partner programs, and we transferred almost 1 million of our 1.5 million funds to assistance to these communities. These are all local communities to which we help to provide assistance to IDPs. We always start our cooperation with learning the needs of the program. The same approach was taken in our cooperation with the communities in the area of IDPs too. And we not only cooperated with local communities, we also worked as volunteers. And we enrolled some other international organizations into provision of this help. What should be done next? The lessons learned during this 6 months suggest that local communities, technical assistance programs should focus on continuous development of the potential of local governance. Khotyn community mentioned how precious it for them were trainings for local authorities. And in this crisis situation, we found out that local communities where leadership underwent training, they were able to respond the best. And by the way, this only proved that human resources are the biggest value of local communities. And local communities now have to think how to bring back their residents, their members from abroad, and they have to think carefully about that, not only about IDPs. Then we have to correct approaches to planning. The plans which have been developed some years ago, they are not actual today, and the local communities have to correct them. They have to decide how to change them, how to make these live plans. Then improvement in the renovation of infrastructure and provision of services. This is a painful issue for many communities, for almost all of them, especially for those which are under occupation. Of course, without donor support, the communities would not cope with that challenge. At the same time, the local communities have to understand how they will register and manage the available resources. They have to attract businesses, to retain them, and to develop them. The local communities have to understand how many and which resources they need to restore the infrastructure. They have to build up relations with the business. They have to plan for the future. The civil activities and transparency. Currently, we observe the burst of voluntary work in local communities, and local authorities have not enrolled civil society as advisory body, but also target their work at enrollment of new employees to local self-government from the membership of that volunteers. And the last but not least is communication, inter-municipal communication and inter-municipal cooperation. During the first weeks of war, the most efficient were those communities which communicated efficiently. During the last 6 years, we paid much attention to development of horizontal relations and communication between inside communities. And during the first weeks of war, we had observed how children were relocated, how people from the hotspots were evacuated. Now, local communities have a high level of interpersonal communication, and local associations of local self-governments have become stronger. We see a lot of opportunities for cooperation. On the other hand, it is important to to communicate and coordinate the donors' assistance, not to duplicate the work. We cooperate with 100 communities, and we encourage all the donors to establish communication with us. And we will allow you to understand the needs of communities, and we are eager to assist you in implementation of your programs. And as of today, we have broader cooperation between communities. Local communities unite in provision and delivery of services to IDPs. There were many questions in chat about where to find information about available grants. We have our website, we have the UCMC website, we have Dobra USAID program, and we will post this information, and also GURT information space, where you can find opportunities available for local communities. I would like to thank to all our participants today, and glory to the armed forces of Ukraine. Thank you that you started to answer the questions of our spectators. Now I'm happy to give the floor to Marat Kiurchevskyi, head of the development programs on local self-governments. Thank you, Irina. It was a very interesting event. I was pleased to watch it, and at the very beginning, when I made an introduction, I characterized the USAID program at general level and provided some macro figures, but I'm happy that Tetyana from our competitive economy project characterized in more detail the resources, etc. I would like to emphasize that besides Dobra project, which is broadly presented here today, we have also competitive economy project, and also Dobra Dohoverna, which is aimed at strengthening decentralization. You can find it at the decentralization website. They have recently added 4 regions as their partners. They also have not only local but national focus. And one more project call from our AGRA program. This is about support of those businesses which deal with grain business, with storage and drying of grains. On August 12, between 10 and noon, we will have the introductory workshop. And competitive economy project offers a lot of project calls, and tomorrow there will be information session about grants available on the framework of this program. So follow up our announcements, our websites. We encourage you to participate in our grant calls. Thank you for this event. I believe that this will become traditional discussions, and I would like to emphasize that local economic development is a primarily source of the local budget revenues and central budget revenues, and we gradually recover after shocks of the first month of the war. And let us start thinking about future, and let us build up strategies for the future. We have to live and to develop Ukraine further. Thank you. Thank you, Marat. But nevertheless, we have to answer questions. We cannot prevent people from asking them. I encourage my colleagues and journalists to join us. I'm Yuri from Minsk City Council, Chernivtsi region. I have a question to Lviv region. How do you involve investors to open industrial enterprise, and how to pass through through the system of permits, because we were not prepared. Attraction of investments is a phenomena which has no a universal recipe, but I can describe our problem and what we lack. We became more efficient in terms of investment attraction when we identified our available resources and understood what we wanted. Not just invest into us because we are beautiful, smart, and etc., but invest into us because we offer good this and that resources, we have this and that strategy, we are doing this and that steps, and this is what we do. So you need to offer an adequate investment passport of your region, which allows to make decision, not just the investment passport with the head of the region, which glorifies the the region is the biggest, the smartest, etc., etc. That is, to market your region is for businesses of the managers of middle level. Because when owners of the business decide to invest somewhere, then the decision goes to the managers of average level, and they will ask you specific questions. Today, people ask more not about greenfield, but about brownfield opportunities. That is, your local community has to communicate. Now let us go at the community, to the community level. Economic departments in local communities do not know what's going on in their communities, what could be interesting to the entrepreneur for making managerial decisions. They believe that from the moment when they allocate land plot, their work is done. But you have to understand that you have to assist to the entrepreneur, even if you cannot resolve the problem, but you have to communicate the problem to the state authorities, to the association of cities, or etc. That is, you have to build trust between entrepreneurs and managers of investment process in your local community. This is the function which our local communities lack most. How to get permit, how to connect to electricity grid, how to connect to utility services, etc. So 3 factors: systematize the information which is needed for the investor to make visionary decision, then preparation of information for the those managers who are practitioners, and structural understanding of resources at all levels, at the oblast level, region level, and local community. This is market economy. Learn how to sell your location. Good afternoon. I'm Matko Katerina from Selskie Życia newspaper in Kirovograd region. We unite 3 local communities, and 3 those communities have the issues with employment of IDPs. Whether at the state level we have a centralized information about opportunities to employ the IDPs. Tamara Sokhatska, State Employment Service. We have a website that says .gov.ua. We have all the vacancies which are in our database. Also, we have a Telegram channel where we update on daily basis and information about vacancies. We have made the chatbot on the Telegram channel. We also tried to make a unified database for all the vacancies. I don't know whether I answered your question. Thank you, colleagues. We have exhausted our time. We will try to answer them in our follow-up in post-communication and our social networks. You will find our today's material on our websites, and glory to